Hello guys, welcome to Tutorials Point. This is a video lecture we are studying about the services. Now, what is a service? We have seen that many a times we need some background activity for our application to perform some task. Like if we are playing music or we're downloading something from the internet. All these things or all these components come as a part of service. Service is neither a different process nor a different thread. It runs in the main thread of the application itself. The only advantage being that it runs in the background and has no UI attached to it. So, a service is a component that runs in the background to perform long-running operations without needing to interact with the user, and it works even if the application has destroyed. Yes, say if you have yourself experienced it when you play the music player, and even if the activity that starts the music has stopped or it is killed or it is destroyed, still the service that in which the music player is running runs and goes on and continues in the background. So now let's see how we can have services. We can have two types of services. One is a bound service and second is unbound services. So when a service is started by an application component, like I say activity, and is started by calling the start service method, then such a service will run indefinitely even if the calling, the component that has called the service is being destroyed. Such a service is known as unbound service. And the service which is bound by an application component bind itself by the bind service. By bind service I mean if there is some communication going on, like some client server communication or something of that sort, then the service that is called is known as bind service. A bound service offers basically a client server interface that allows components to interact with the service, send requests, get results, and even process the inter-process communication. Even the communication comes as a part of the bound service. Now let's see the life cycle of service. These are two life cycles. This is for the unbound service, this is for the bound service. This service is started by the onStart service method. Once it is started, the flow comes to the onCreate method. In the onCreate method, it then goes on the onStart command or the onStart method. From there, till we actually stop or till we actually call the stop service or the stop self method, the service will continue to execute and will process the entire background it is performing. After we have called the stop self or the stop service method, then the service comes to the on destroy. In the on destroy, any memory or anything that we are having, we leave those spaces and the service is shut down. This comes to the part of the unbound service. Now, what is the bind service? When the service is created in the onCreate service, this onCreate is executed, but it's executed on the calling of the bind service method. From the onCreate, the flow passes through the onBind and it returns a iBinder type of an object. This iBinder type of object is used for communication purpose. After this, when all the clients have disconnected, then the flow comes to onUnbind, and if onUnbind by any chance a bind service is called, then it executes the onRebind and the service is again interacting and there is a communication going on. If onUnbind there is no new request, the flow is running fine and it's properly unbinded, then it comes to the onDestroy method. From here, the service is shut down or the work has been completed. So you have seen yourself that these two services, they are neither different processes nor different threads. They are simply a different component working together without a UI. So we have two services. I hope it's very much clear: unbound services and bound services. We call them bound because they need a communication medium to communicate. Like we can have, for example, if you are updating some products in the e-commerce portal, then you continue refreshing and it's reloading and reloading. Such things actually comes as a part of the bound service. Now let's look at the methods or the service lifecycle methods. So whenever we call the start service method, the flow comes to the onStart command. This is called when the other component like activity or activity and such requests that it should be started. It is started by the start service method. If you implement this method, since these services are basically they don't destroy themselves, or we as developers have to call a function which would be destroying. So we have two ways of destroying, either by stop self or by stop service method. Then is the on bind. If in spite of calling the start service, we call the bind service, it is an interface which will help you to implement the method and would give you a I binder object which you would be using to communicate with the service. This is known as the on bind. And if all the clients have disconnected, then the flow comes to the on unbind. If in case a new client has requested the what we call this bind service method, then the client will be disconnected and a connection has again been established. This connection results in the calling of the on rebind functionality or on the rebind method, and from then from either from start one or from this one bind service, we come to the on create. This is the first, which is called on bind or on start command, and one time setup, establishing connections or checking for ports, all these things are done as a part of the on create. And if the service has been stopped, like for a bound service there are no connections, or it is in an unbind method, and for the unbound services we have either called the stop service or we have called the stop self method. Then the flow comes to on destroy. Here the things that are no longer being used are destroyed, basically, like cleaning up, like threads and listeners and receivers, if any, are cleaned up. Now let's look at the skeleton methods for the services. So these are some methods. The very first being the on create, the on start command, on bind, on unbind, on rebind, and on destroy. If you look at it properly, these methods are basically for both bound and unbound services. If the flow is coming from the bound service, that is, it would be coming through the on bind. It comes to on create, on bind, and then if it's unbind, if there's a connection established, it comes to rebind, and then again unbind and again destroyed. These methods are basically similar to this particular, all these methods. The only difference is that they are having their parameters attached to them. So on create is not having any parameter. This is called in any service, irrespective of the fact that it's a bound service or it's an unbound service. Then from the on create, if it is an unbound service, then we have the on start method. After that, if a stop service is called, then we come to the on destroy method. For the services like bind service, when the call is coming through bind service, the flow comes to on create. After the on create, the flow comes to on bind. If the connection has stopped, it comes to on unbind, and from there the service ends and it calls the on destroy method. When the call is coming to the start service, then the method that is called from this one is the on start command. It is having the intent which called the flags and the ID of the service. It would return a integer that the service has been started. So now let's quickly go to our Android Studio and see the working of the service, and let's have a practical demo for this one. Hello guys, welcome back. Just we saw about the service, the life cycle of service, the two ways in which you can have a service, the start service and the bind service. Now you would be doing a practical demo in which you would be creating our activity file, the main activity.java. From there, we on click of a button from XML, we would be firing up a service, and on click of some other button, we would be stopping the service. Right. So now let's see how do we get started for making of service. So I quickly open up my project. In the project I go to the layout. In the layout I go to the activity underscore main.xml. So this is my activity underscore main.xml. In this one I'm having two buttons. One is a start service and one is a stop service. The start service is calling the start service method and the stop service is calling the stop service method. Now I go to my main activity.java here, and I'm having two methods over here that were linked over there. From here I start a service using the method start service. I call the intent. The intent is get base context, like whatever the context is, and then the class which I want to call. I'm here calling the my service. Now this is my service class. If you look at it, it's public class my service, extend service. How I made up this class, I went over here, file, Java, I named it as, let's have it my server only. I use it as, I give the super class as service and I click on OK. Coming here, it would be asking me to either implement the methods or override them. I say implement the methods. So I implement the bind method, then I have on start method, and then I would be having the on destroy method. So now let's see how these methods actually work. So here's my service. In the first one, I am just simply passing a service started method. A toast is like there which is saying that service started. You can even start it to play a music over here and it would run for the infinite amount of time till you stop the service. And you click on show. Now, if you see, we are returning something as sticky. In the service, for the start service or for the unbind service, we have two types of service. One is start sticky and one is start not sticky. See, the best part about start sticky being that they are started and stop as per my need. Like as a developer, I have to stop them and I have to start them. But the non-sticky ones are actually active till the command they are executing is running. So it tells that it's a sticky service means it would continue to execute till I explicitly call the stop method, right? Then I'm having another button over here. This button is calling the stop service method in the main activity Java. This is my stop service method. I'm stopping the service, new intent, get base context, and the service that I want to stop. So this is my service, and on destroy it would be calling the toast and showing that the service has been destroyed. Now, one more and or the last or the very small updation is that you simply go to a manifest file. Here you register a new service. How you do that? Service, like I've given it my service and I ended. That's it. Nothing much. Now your service would work absolutely fine. So now let me run my application and see how it works. Here's my application. I click on start service. The toast starts service started has shown up. It will continue to execute till I press the stop service one. So guys, this was about the service. A quick demo also has been done. I hope you would have got a fair idea of what is the service and how it works. Stay tuned as we take you through the other Android components and the other application development concepts. Thank you.